Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Suri Sessions. Today we would like to discuss in detail about DDL, DML, DQL, DCL and TCL with regards to the SQL. We have already touched upon slightly on DDL, but today let's continue to discuss about all these five topics. To start with DDL, what is DDL? Data Definition Language. So what it will do? It will help us to define the structure of the database, a table, whereby creating a table or deleting the table or altering the table, etc. So one important thing about DDL is all the transactions whatever we do will be auto committed. That means they will save in the database permanently. So what are the various commands we got? We got create, we got drop, alter and truncate. So we'll go in detail from the practical point of view, but for now I would like to touch upon what are these commands. Create will help us to create a new database or a new table within the database. Drop will help us to delete the structure and record of the table or a database. Alter, what is alter? As the name suggests, it will help us to alter the structure of the database or a table. And truncate will basically help us to delete the data within the table. And moving on to DML, data manipulation language. As the name suggests, we are manipulating the data. So manipulation in the sense we are adding a data or we are updating the existing data or we are deleting the data. So likewise we got three commands. The first one is insert, which can be used to insert the data into the table. Update, which will be used to update the existing records. And delete, again as the name suggests, it will delete the entries from the table. Now the most important thing with regards to the SQL is the DQL, data query language. As it's a structured query language, select has its own importance compared to all other commands. I can say this is the widely used command across SQL. So what is select? Select, as the name suggests, it will help us to select some portion of the data or complete data from the table. So select will be used to select a particular data set from the table. And DCL, as the name suggests, it's a data control language. So basically this will control the data within the database with regards to the access. So the two key commands we use is grant and revoke. Grant will help us to grant access privileges to any user within the database, and revoke, on the other hand, if you want to revoke the existing permissions of any user, you can do that using this command. And now the fifth one is TCL, transaction control language. Transaction control language, we have the three key commands called commit, rollback and save point. Commit will help us to save all the transactions which have been run so far into the database. Rollback, as the name suggests, in case if you want to undo some transactions or all the transactions you have done so far, you can do that using this command rollback. And save point is kind of a conjunction to the rollback. Say for example, if you don't want to roll back all the transactions we made so far, or you want to roll back to a particular instance or a point of that particular day, you can use that by defining a save point. So on a high level, these are the key commands we use as part of these five categories. So now let's go into a practical. Okay, now I have connected to the SQL server. I think I've already discussed in my previous topic about how to connect to the SQL server and how to run the queries. So let's start with DDL first. So as part of DDL, as I said, we have four magic commands. The first one is about create. So what create can do, we can create a database and we can create a table. So let's start creating the database using the magic command create. and the syntax will be create, database and database name. In this case, I would like to give the database name as testdb. So I'll select it, I'll click on execute. You could see the command completed successfully. So let's check whether the database has been created. So as I said yesterday, let's click on refresh and you should be seeing a new database. Yes, here we go. We got a test database. So since we created database, as you can see, there are no associated tables within it. So let's create new tables. So I've again got the queries ready for that. So let's run the query on creating the tables. So the syntax for creation is, again, it's not that difficult. I can explain in easiest way. The syntax is, so again the important thing is we should connect to the particular database we have created just now. So let's connect to testdb. So now we are in the testdb database, and now let's try to create the new table. Create table, table name, and these are the columns we can add. A customer ID is one column, customer name, address, city and country. Again, int, varchar are nothing but data types I want to define, and primary key, I want to mark customer ID as a primary key, and which is of not null category. So I've inputted all the key details to create the table. So we can use the same syntax to create n number of columns. So let's create the table now. So I'm clicking and I'm running it. Command completed successfully. So let's see if we can see the table created here. Okay, here we go. We got the customer table which is created. As I said yesterday, by default it will be denoted or preceded by a schema called dbo dot before the table name. So as soon as we select it, we can just run it for customers, or we can call it as dbo dot customers. So always the way we connect to the tables are from the db to schema to table. So since we are already in the db, we can directly call the table as long as we are in the same schema. So let's go to the next command. So since we created a table, what are the next command we have? We have a drop command. So as I said, drop will delete the whole table along with the structure. So what that means? So currently we have a table called customers where we have 5 columns with customer ID as a primary key. So let's try to run this command, drop table customers. So ideally it should be dropping the whole table out. So let's check that now. If we refresh it, you could see there are no more tables. So the command has worked. So now since we want to play around with different commands, I will recreate the table again. So let's run this query. So, and the table is back. Okay, so let's go to the next magic command, which is truncate. So what truncate does and what differently it does to drop. So truncate will delete the records within the table, whereby retaining the structure. That means in case if the table has some 100 records, it will delete all those 100 records, but it won't delete the table altogether. The table will remain intact. So the structure will be retained so that we can add new data into the table at future point. So let's run this query. Command completed successfully. And if you see that the table is still intact, it's only the data within the table is deleted. So now the other important command is alter. Alter will help us to do altering the table. So we can add or we can drop content from the table with regards to the structure. The first command we can use is alter table, table name. We can add column and the data type. So in this case, since we already had a table called customer, so let's run a command where we are altering the table customers. We are adding a new column called test, which is of integer. So let's run this. Command completed successfully. So let's refresh it. So we should be seeing the new column test. Here we go. We got the test, which is of type integer and can be nullable since we have not defined as null, not null. So let's play around with the drop command now. So similar to adding, we have to click on alter table customers and drop column test. So let's drop the column which we created just now. So let's refresh it. Ideally it should not present anymore. Here we go. It's all been deleted or dropped from the table. So that's all about DDL. So let's go to the next categories. So again, I have created the queries for that. So let's go through them one by one. So the first one is DQL. So I want to first touch upon DQL because this is the key command which we are going to use, which will help us to define our DML and DCL or TCL commands. So as I said, it's only a single command, which is a very powerful one, which we are going to do on day-to-day basis. So let's do the select command. So the syntax for that is we have to enter select and we have to mention number of columns, or if you want to get all the data from the table, you can denote as star. Star refers to complete data set. So select star from table name. In this case, the table is customers. So what will happen when I run this? Any guesses? It should not throw up any data, as we have created the table but we never added any data into it. So it's asking me to connect. Yes, I will. So you can see here the table contains no data, but the structure is still there as we have created the table very recently. So now, so the DQL point of view, it's only one command which can help us to read partial or a complete data set from the table. So let's play around with the next category, which is DML, data manipulation language. So the first command here is insert. So I want to insert particular amount of data within the table. So what's the syntax? The syntax is insert into table name, and we have to mention column names as well, column 1, column 2, column 3, and values. What are the values for each column? So it's pretty straightforward. So for the customer table, I would like to insert values. So one important thing I would like to tell you here is the parenthesis which contains the column names is optional. It's up to you. If you think you won't remember the column names, you can write them straight away here, or if not, if you are confident enough, you know the column names, then try to put the values in the same order. So we need to make sure whatever data here, it's all one-to-one mapped. So 1 refers to column 1, 2 refers to column 2, likewise column 5. So the first command I'm running here is, as per the syntax, I'm inserting data into customers with the values of 1, test 1, so and so. So what will happen when I run this? It says one row affected. That means something has been changed within the table. So how to see whether it has been added or not? So let's use our popular magic command, select star from customers. So let's run this. So ideally we should be seeing the one row. Yes, we can. So we can see the data has been added. Say you might be thinking it's a tedious task, we can't add one row every time. Why can't we add multiple rows in single go? Yes, we can do. So in order to do that, we have an option within the insert command where we can add n number of rows by separating a comma. So you can see a same syntax, insert into table name with the values. This is the first row. So second row, likewise you can add number of rows. But for now I'm adding 2 rows. So let's run this command. 2 rows affected. So any guesses how many rows will be available now in the customer table? It should be 3 because we already added 1 previously. Now we added 2 more. So let's try that. Yes, we can see that 1, 2 and 3. We can slowly see the data is shaping up within the table. So let's go on with the next command. Okay, update. What is update? Say for example, we have added 3 records and you might be thinking, oh no, something wrong with one of the record. What should I do? So we have an option, we can update particular table for number of records or for all records. So how can we do that? With the update command, the update syntax is, we'll do update table name, set is the keyword, and we have to mention column name and the values we are going to add. And where condition is optional, but it's very important. If we don't define the where condition, it's gonna update all the rows. So let's try with one simple update. So I'm updating customer table. I'm setting customer name as testing2 for the customer ID equal to 2. That means this particular record I want to replace test2 with testing2. So what will happen now? If I run this, I could see one row affected. So let's see what has happened to the record 2. So again, I'm gonna use the magic select command and I'm going to check whether it's been populated. Yes, we can see now the customer name is now set to testing2. So the update statement worked. So likewise, say for example, if you have not given any where clause and if you have ran this, what will happen? It will end up updating all the rows within the table. So if you run this, you can see customer name has been reset to testing2. So it's bit of mayhem, so please make sure you always use the where clause, otherwise it's gonna screw up your data. So I'm going to change this back now. So I'm going to run the first one as test1 and second one as test2. Likewise, the third record as test3. So now if we see the select statement, we could see it's reverted back to the normal. Okay, the last command within DML is delete. What is delete? Delete command, as the name suggests, it will delete data from the table. Similar to update, we have a where condition here, which is very key. Otherwise, it's gonna delete everything from the table. So the simple, say for example, if I just run this query, it's gonna delete all the data from the table. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to add a where clause over here. So where, I just want to delete the last record. See, as soon as we are trying to enter the column name, it's popping up with the column values. So I'm going to delete the last record, which is of customer ID 3. When I run this command, you can see one row affected. So let's see using select query whether the data has been deleted. Yes, we can see the number 3 has been deleted. So that's the importance about delete command. So let's move on to the next set of categories, which are very key one, although not very important with regards to the data, but very important from the process point of view. So the DCL, so DCL, as I said, we have two particular commands, grant and revoke. Grant, what grant does is grant will grant some privileges on particular object to a particular user. The syntax is grant, and you can select any of the privilege. Say for example, if you want to grant select, or if you want to grant everything, select, insert, update, delete, which is all DDL, DML and DQL commands. So if you want to grant all on, I think I need to select the database here. So grant all on customers to test. I don't have any role defined, but this is the syntax. If you want, you can play around, you can run this, but it will throw, there is no user tests. But if you want to add to any existing user, you can do this command. So likewise, if you want to revoke particular privileges from the user, you can do on the same way. You can use revoke all on customers from test. So this command will revoke all the access privileges from the customer table. So likewise, we have the final category called TCL, transaction control language. So TCL, the first command we got is commit. What is commit? We are committing it. That means we are saving the changes. So that means it will save the changes. How do we do that? So I will show up a sample query. So again, as I already stressed upon, all the DDL commands will be auto committed. You don't need to press commit. But if you want to do a manipulation, you can always play around. So before we play around with examples, let's cover the rollback. Rollback, what does rollback do? It's a other way to the commit. It will roll back the changes we made. So let's try to play around on save point. What is save point? As I explained, save point will try to create a particular save points within the transaction so that we can have a facility to roll back those group of transactions. Rather than rolling back everything, we can roll back up to that particular point. So let's move on and try to play around these three commands. So the first one, so before we go, let's see what data we got from the customer table. So let's run our magic command. We could see there is no data. Interesting. Okay, I think I've did the truncate on the other day. So let's try to insert it using our insert command. Two rows impacted. So let's try to see what's the data we got. Yes, we got 2 rows. So now before we act on any of these 3 TCL commands, we have to follow a syntax called begin transaction. So the begin transaction will do, it will begin the transaction and we can play around different manipulations within the transactions and we can decide upon whether to commit, rollback or save point. So let's start with commit. So the syntax is begin transaction. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to insert some more data into the customer table with our insert statement. So again here I'm adding test 3. So I think I'll probably make it as first one because I have not added the first one. So I'm inserting one row into the customer table and I'm committing as well. So let's run this. That means whatever I have added, it will be committed now. So let's check whether we can see the 3 records now. Yes, we can see. So now as we have committed, let's play around on the rollback. Say for example, we are adding one new record within the customer table, but this time instead of committing it, we are rolling back. That means, oh no, I made a mistake. I don't want to have this record anymore. Let's roll back to the previous commit point. So if I run this query, you could see one row affected, but we also ran the rollback statement. That means this record will no longer present as we have rolled back to the commit, which is at the start. So now let's check what's the data within the table. So you could still see 3 rows. We have not added 5 anymore. So now let's play around on save point. So now instead of rolling back, I'm actually saving this particular transaction to a save point, save P1. So let's run this command. When you run this, you could see one row affected. So let's see what is the data set within the customer table. So you can now see there is a new record with customer ID 5 created successfully. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another record into the table and I'm going to rolling it back to a save point and see what happens. It's quite interesting when we play around with this. So let's start with this. So we are going to add new value called value 6 and I'm going to run this query first. So this will actually insert one record, and I'm also okay. One important thing, when we are selecting multiple lines, SQL is gonna execute all the lines one by one, and it's gonna display the output of it. So in this case, you could see we have inserted successfully. You can see that in the message, one row affected, which is for the insert, and 5 rows affected, which is for the select. So let's go to the results. You could see that number 6 has been created. So since we have not rolled back so far, we have data of 5 rows within that customer table. Now I've thought, oh no, I've actually added a row with customer ID 6, which I no longer needed. At the same time, I don't want to roll back to the previous commit point. So what I want is, I want to retain customer ID equal to 5 but not 6. So then what I can do, since I've already had a save point P1 saved, I'm going to rolling back to that particular save point. Let's run this. Command completed successfully. Now let's check the data within the table. So what our anticipation is, customer ID 6 should be no longer present and customer ID 5 should still be there. Yes, that's the case. So we can still play around with commit, rollback, and save point. Likewise, depends on the situation and the usage, you can play around these 3 commands. But whenever you do DML commands, make sure you commit it. Otherwise, you might lose the data if you roll back, or if anyone working on the same database is rolling back accidentally. So, okay. In a nutshell, we have discussed all the 5 categories from the DDL, DML, DQL, DCL, and TCL. I hope you got the crux of this, and please do practice, and that's the only way we can learn this. I hope this session helps you out. Please do like, share, and subscribe our channel, Suri Sessions. Thank you very much.